because here we are and you're surrounded by wrestling history. I mean, that famous Hulk Hogan video where they call him the Hulk, voiced over by Michael St. John, and he's shot in this dramatic way, and you get all these different dimensions and facts on Hogan. This is years before Hulkamania was running wild. That happened in your dad's basement, and Kamala was created in the woods out behind the house. I mean, this is all happening as you're a young man. It almost feels as if you were destined to be in professional wrestling, but you've got all these siblings and none of them were. Why did you gravitate to this more so than your siblings?
I don't really have, I'll say, a logical answer for that, other than my older brother was more into, much more into academics and arts. He could play the hell out of a piano and all that. He never really gravitated towards sports like I did. I loved anything and everything growing up, every sport, anything I could ride, go-karts. Anyway, I don't know. I just gravitated toward the action or any of that kind of stuff. But my younger brother's a hell of an athlete. I don't really have an exact answer to that, Conrad, like why? But I was mesmerized from – my parents were divorced when I was 3, so I grew up till I was I moved out to my dad's house. I was 14, 15, spent summers, all that. But I can remember, even living in my mom's house, sneaking like a lot of kids, staying up late, watching WNG, Channel 2, ABC, the Nick Goulas promotion, me watching different things. But I just always loved wrestling. I mean, again, my dad wasn't around a whole lot when I was real young. So I can't say I watched wrestling because my dad was a wrestler. I loved it, period. Like a lot of kids out there, just grew up, wasn't flipping through the channels. It was destination viewing, but I loved it from my earliest memories. I was always really into it. And, but I'll say my first love was basketball as a kid. So, maybe delusional when I was real young, but all I did was play football, basketball, baseball, ran track. Quit baseball, got into track, hit big time. But as a kid, Conrad, it was sports. And then when I moved out with my dad, it was sports, work, and he let me referee. And I don't want to get too far into it, but I know our jumping off point is 1986, my debut year. But that's kind of the backstory, and feel free to dive in anywhere else.
Did your dad push you to get in? Was he hesitant to get in? It feels like a lot of times we hear parents in the wrestling business say, now, son, I don't want you to get in this business. This isn't the kind of business for you. And they often discourage it. Did your dad discourage or encourage?
He didn't discourage, and he really didn't encourage. As I look back on it now, I got to spend time with him this past weekend, and we chat present, past, all kinds of different things, wrestling. But as I look back on it now, I think he was just probably under the assumption that it will happen at some point, but he knew how much I was into basketball. I just, as my, freshman year, sophomore, I became tunnel vision on basketball, quit playing football, quit playing track, didn't do anything but basketball year round. And I was just focused on that. I wanted to go play college ball. I was really into that. And then, that's what I was doing when I guess fate or timing or however it may be, that to get kind of a time frame, the golden age of territories was 80 to 85. Conrad, would you say that's kind of a fair assessment? 80 to 85, 78 to 85, the golden age of territories.
Yeah. I mean, I would think the late 70s through, 85 is probably when Vince started to really take over and it started to taper.
Yes, I think it started to taper, but because that's when Crockett was bought out and Watts was bought out and Kansas City and Florida shut down and, all the different stories. But, the territory business around here and my dad making those videos and developing talent, it was super red hot. 80, 81, the Letterman thing. I mean, the Kaufman thing and Macho and Road Wars, box office was, just crazy good. But when you kind of look at 83, so that's first WrestleMania, 84, 85, about 85, things started going down. and business was down, and Lawler had lost a loser leave town match, and quote unquote to give him a rest in the territory. And most of the time when he took a rest, you started building as many heels as you possibly could, and heat. And the King's going to come back, and he's going to have 3 or 4 opponents ready, and you're going to pop a territory. And over that, calendar year, it's going to be black ink as opposed to red ink, and kind of hang on and survive and do what you got to do to build things. And that they had kind of done that method many, many times. Well, end of 85, getting into 86, business was down. And again, Lawler was not, he was, had lost that loser tape. So they said, okay, we've got to do an angle. We got to shoot an angle to bring him back. And I had refereed the prior 2 summers, and I was in the middle of my freshman year of playing college basketball. Matter of fact, we had a tournament when, as a, getting toward the end in March, as March Madness goes. This is the whole timing of it, that I was in a college basketball end of season when my dad says, "Hey, son, we've kind of got we got an idea here. What do you think about this?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you tell me about it?" And he's like, "Hey, you're going to be refereeing on TV." And, I can't remember word for word, but hey, we're going to beat your ass, and then I'm going to come out and save you. And then when I save you, they're going to beat me up, and we're going to have kind of a wild fight, and they're going to end up kicking the shit out of both of us. And that will lead into Lawler coming back. And Conrad, I didn't really wrap my head around what all that meant, but the end result was the King came back, and that was the last sellout in the Mid-South Coliseum for the territory business.